Let's get started off in the NFC Championship Sunday. This is the late night game between the Lions and the San Francisco 49ers, and let's just get it out there right now. I'm seen as a San Francisco 49er hater. I'll never understand why. People don't really like to hear stats, statistics, and the truth about their quarterback, Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is not a bad NFL quarterback. He's a perfectly fine NFL quarterback. What drives me insane is people elevate people to the elite tier so quickly with the Mahomeses, the Allens, the Burrows, the Jacksons, when they shouldn't be there. And for years, I said, when everyone else was slamming Jimmy Garoppolo, for being quote-unquote terrible, I said, what? He's been to a Super Bowl. He's been to 2 NFC Conference Championship games. He can't be that bad. Kirk Cousins hasn't done that. Dak Prescott hasn't done that. Now, do I think it's mostly the weapons and Kyle Shanahan? Of course. But I don't think he's terrible. And now, I've had to completely do the inverse with Brock Purdy. People have elevated Brock Purdy. And when I said with Jimmy G, when everyone was saying he was terrible, I'm like, Jimmy G is not terrible. Jimmy G is a product of the system. He's a fine NFL quarterback. He's good. That's it. He's good. He's a top 15 quarterback. He's 14, 15, 13. When he's under the Kyle Shanahan system and he has the weapons in place, he can be serviceable. And he can be perfectly fine. Brock Purdy, for some reason, I don't know why, I don't get it, has been elevated into the top 6, top 5 quarterback tier when he's done not the accolades of Jimmy G, has not led a team to the Super Bowl, lost in the NFC Conference Championship game, which was obviously not his fault. He elbow exploded. But I have basically said, Jimmy G is not top 5, top 6, and I've had to do the inverse and say, no. He's in the Jimmy G tier. He's 13, 14, 15, 12. If you want to make him the 10th best quarterback, that's fine. You can make an argument, and I'd be fine to listen to that Brock Purdy's better than Jimmy G. That's not really the argument. Brock Purdy is somewhere between the 10th through 15th best quarterback. But to me, there are absolutely 10 quarterbacks I would take over Brock Purdy. Whether it's C.J. Stroud, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts. Those are all guys I would take. Kirk Cousins, all guys I would take over Brock Purdy. So I'm seen as a San Francisco 49er hater when in reality, I've always just put things in perspective. You can be upset. You can be a fanboy. I can't control how you feel, but I'm just being honest with you. The stats are roughly similar when Jimmy G took the Niners to the Super Bowl and Brock Purdy this year with the 49ers. And Jimmy G didn't even have CMC in that year when they took the 49ers to the Super Bowl in, I believe, 2019. So I'll never understand that. You can't be honest in this business because people just label you a hater, and I'm totally fine to live with that. It's all good. If Brock Purdy comes out and wins the MVP, I'll be more than willing to say I was wrong. You can obviously win a Super Bowl with him, and he's better than what I thought he was. But the NFC divisional game between the Packers opened up a lot of everything I was already saying before. Brock Purdy was not good in that game. Brock Purdy is lucky to come out in that game with a win. Yes, he played good in the final drive. I can't act like I didn't see the first 3 3/4 of the game, though, guys. I just can't act like I didn't see that. The San Francisco 49ers are marching in to Santa Clara. The Detroit Lions are visiting. And I really like the Lions in this spot. I know it's the Detroit Lions. It might just blow up in my face because the Detroit Lions have been largely irrelevant for 25 years now. As long as the Cowboys have been irrelevant, they're just not America's team, so they're not seen as such a failure like the Dallas Cowboys are. I saw a headline on First Things First the other day. Are the Detroit Lions a better story or are they a good team? And it's like, they're in the NFC Conference Championship game, guys. They're obviously clearly good. They're the second best team in the NFC. The Dallas Cowboys were not. They're a fraudulent franchise. Jared Goff has shown now that if you give him time, he will carve you up. Jahmyr Gibbs has really stepped into his own. David Montgomery has been a awesome power back. That 1-2 punch is probably the best 1-2 punch in the NFL in terms of running back. I understand Christian McCaffrey is better than both those guys, but a 1-2 punch, a second pitch, if you will, in Jahmyr Gibbs, and your fastball in David Montgomery. The offensive line is probably the best in the NFL, although if you want to make an argument the Eagles is better, that's perfectly fine with me. They're the second best offensive line at worst in football. Penei Sewell, Frank Ragnow, guys like that on the line. And then you look at Taylor Decker as well on the line. And then you look at the San Francisco 49ers pass rush. Chase Young is not good. Chase Young is a bust. He's not good. It probably has to do with his injuries, so that sucks. But Chase Young is not a great pass rusher. He's probably a very average pass rusher. Nick Bosa hasn't been as amazing as we thought he would be this year. The pass rush of the 49ers is just severely overrated and overstated. Eric Armstead, you can name a bunch of guys. Eric Armstead, Javon Kinlaw, Nick Bosa, Javon Hargrave, Chase Young. It's a star-studded defensive line. It's a lot of sizzle. It's not a lot of results. It just isn't a lot of results. Last week, the Niners got 0 sacks on Jordan Love. 0. Jordan Love is a kid. He's not battle-tested. He's won one playoff game in his career. One. He's been in the playoffs once in his career as a starter. Once. And made some throws last week where I was like, what the hell am I watching? Jared Goff has now proven as much as he wants to be the butt of all jokes, as much as we like to push Jared Goff to the side, and I was like that as well for a while. Jared Goff has shown that if you give him time, Jared Goff will carve up your defense. And if you're just, in a nutshell, would I rather have Jared Goff or Brock Purdy? I'd rather have Jared Goff. Again, I might be wrong. You might call me a hater. That's fine. Jared Goff has been to a Super Bowl. Jared Goff has won an NFC Conference Championship game. Jared Goff is battle-tested. Jared Goff is, I believe, 29, 30 years old. He's got some gray hairs when it comes to the NFL. I trust him more. And he's got a huge arm that people will not give him credit for. Jared Goff has shown that when he has time in the pocket, he will carve you up. The 49ers are not going to get to Jared Goff. That offensive line is going to pummel the defensive line of the San Francisco 49ers. And the run game, the Niners' run defense has not been good recently at all. So when you add Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, that is going to open up the play action. That's going to open up receivers downfield. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Reynolds, Sam Laporta, Zach Ertz is now being elevated. Old man Zach Ertz, no yak Zach, is going to be in this game. This team's got weapons. And it's not a head coaching battle between Kyle Shanahan and Dan Campbell. Although we all think Dan Campbell is a good head coach now. It's Kyle Shanahan versus Ben Johnson. Kyle Shanahan, we saw last week, drew up a god-awful game plan. It was abysmal. They acted like they didn't have CMC. I gave him the benefit of the doubt and said, CMC's got to be on a pitch count. He's got to be more injured than we think he is. And that's why he's not using CMC. He's using him for emergency break glass. And to his defense, he did use him if emergency break glass on that last drive was CMC. But Ben Johnson is a very good offensive mind. That is where I believe the coaching battle comes in. I don't believe in Steve Wilks as defensive coordinator. I've seen him firsthand with the Arizona Cardinals be a head coach. He's not great on the defensive side of balls. This isn't D'Amico Ryans. This isn't Robert Saleh. Ben Johnson, I believe, is going to eat this Steve Wilks defense alive. It all just comes down to what Jared Goff are we getting? Because the splits between Jared Goff in a dome and Jared Goff on the road outside, it's completely different. Now, to be fair, it's going to be like 65 and sunny in Santa Clara on Sunday. So I don't know how much a dome has to do with that or a roof is going to do with that. This isn't snow. But we saw it Brock Purdy last week. A little bit of rain. Can't grip the ball. Can't find guys downfield. I'm just believing in Jared Goff and his experience and the fact that I know he's got a better arm than a lot of people will say he does over the San Francisco 49ers. I'm taking the Detroit Lions this weekend over the San Francisco 49ers. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery are going to pound that defensive line and that front seven. The offensive line should dominate that very overstated and overrated pass rush of the San Francisco 49ers. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, these are good weapons. I know 49ers fans don't want to see it like that. People are already punching the ticket for the San Francisco 49ers. No one is talking about the Detroit Lions. There is no team hungrier than the Detroit Lions. And so although I think the San Francisco 49ers are star-studded, they've got a lot of great guys, but the thing that is really the straw that broke the camel's back, we're going to use that analogy again this week. If Deebo Samuel does not play, I give the Niners zero chance to win this game. Just zero. The stats do not lie. They are not the same team without Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel goes out in that game, then what happens? The complete offense changed. I don't know if it was going to be any different, but the offense completely changed when Deebo Samuel got ruled out. This is the same shoulder injury that plagued them last time he missed 2 or 3 games. I don't believe Deebo Samuel is going to play. So that is where my prediction is coming from. I just don't believe Deebo Samuel is going to play in this game. So with all that being said, if Deebo Samuel doesn't play, I like Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery to run all over the San Francisco 49ers defense. That run defense has not been good over the past few weeks. This pass rush for the 49ers is overstated and overrated. The offensive line should dominate. Jared Goff has shown that with time and not pressured, he will carve up your defense. And I'm just going to take Jared Goff over Brock Purdy. I'm just going to keep on pounding that drum. I think Ben Johnson's going to carve up yet another elite game plan, and we'll see what Kyle Shanahan has. But I'm riding the Detroit Lions this weekend. I believe the Lions are going to beat the San Francisco 49ers, who I believe will be missing Deebo Samuel. We'll see what happens. As of Wednesday, he missed another practice. So, you can't feel great about it. But overall, I like the Lions to go to the Super Bowl and match up with the AFC counterpoint that we'll get to in just a minute in Las Vegas.